call this, close this down a little bit now and get started. We have 50 plus people here today. Thank you all for coming and spending your Saturday indoors. Um, and we have a few announcements this morning. We haven't had anything serious for a while, but I do have a couple announcements. I'm going to start off so I can do this real quick. I want to just show you something on my screen that is kind of one of our announcements. We have cut a little bit of wood. Basically, Steve Griswold and John Cobb have spent hours prepping. This is part of that carob that came from the Bay Area. This is all cut, it's all sealed, and it's ready to go. So, parking lot sale. We're going to get out some guidelines in writing, so how we're going to handle this thing, but mark it on your calendar for next Friday, the 18th. It'll be in the morning, and it'll just be for a couple hours. And our real concern has been controlling, how we're going to maintain our safe social distance and move the wood. So we'll get a note out to you all shortly that says this is exactly how we're going to operate it, but we've got to bring people in, select your wood, pay your money, go. We can't afford to have people collecting and creating a social event. So we'll have some specific rules about it. It'll be unfortunate, but you're going to get a chance to get access to some of this really, really great carob. So we're happy to have that available for you. And we'll get some more notes out about that shortly. You, Bevan Thomas, where are you? I'm looking on my screen. There you are, right in the dead center on my view. You want to talk to us a little bit?
Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I just wanted to remind everybody that it's time we started to think about renewing our membership. It's still $60. And some of you may wonder, well, it's all online. Why is it still $60? I'd like to remind you of what's happened. I think the board has done a fantastic job. Not only do we get guest speakers now, outside guest speakers every month, which we couldn't have afforded to before, but we've also got the sawdust sessions, which I think have been terrific. And I think the board needs to be congratulated for, I think, a great job they're doing in these difficult circumstances. We all want the camaraderie, but given the circumstances, I think things are going extremely well. Our calendar year, I'd like to remind you, is from January to January. So anytime you renew now, the computer will automatically move you into next year. It was very hot last weekend. So I decided to review our membership, and I was horrified to find that there were 93 people who had not renewed since 2018. And then I looked into it a bit more, and I find that there are several people who jump in and out. In other words, they come and they become a member for a year, then they drop for 2 years, then they come back, and then they drop again, and then they come back again. And so it's interesting. But I suspect a lot of that is procrastination. So if you're tempted to procrastinate, my advice is that think of the 3 letters, DIN, which is do it now. And that works very well for me. The renewing process this year is going to be somewhat different because we can't do it in person. I know a lot of you like to give me checks at the meetings. So we're going to have to do it either online in the computer, which is very straightforward for those of you who haven't done it. The alternative is going to be to send the checks to the treasurer, the BAWA treasurer. And next, I will send out an email to everybody with the address. we don't want to use people's, the treasurer's name. So you're going to address it to the treasurer and you make the check out to Bawa. And I will, on the email, I will give you the address. And in the next newsletter and in the ones following, I will also put in the address for you to send it to. I think that's all I really have to say. So expect an email from me next month and in the newsletter as to where to send your membership dues, $60 for next year.
Thank you. Yeah. Terrific, Hugh. That's it is important. We've had to thank you for the accolades to the board. We have both pluses and minuses with this particular situation here. We can't access the store, the library, or each other in terms of social, but we are able to offer a lot more content than we ever have in the past. And that's the good news side of this. Steve Griswold, are you around someplace close by?
I am here.
All right, Mr. Griswold, how would you like to say a few things?
Yes, why don't I follow up with what you were just saying there, Jim? And can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay, good. And that is one of the things that we've been doing to reach out to create some of that space where we can communicate with each other like we used to do before the meetings, is to revive and refresh the Bawa Facebook group. Michelle Fries some years ago created a Facebook group, and we've recently converted it to a private Bawa Facebook group. And I'm going to do just a quick show and tell. I think it's pretty cool, and I encourage folks who use Facebook to jump on it. And if you don't use Facebook, it's very easy to join and only for that purpose. So stand by here while we go there. All right, so you should all be seeing now the Bay Area Woodturners Association Facebook group. And this is a closed Facebook group, so it's just all of us on here. And it looks like your regular Facebook page. You can scroll down, see postings, and see what people are up to. People are posting their work. Here's John Cobb posting a funky piece that warped rather enormously. You can also go up here and see that there are certain topics that I've flagged as we go along. For instance, a couple of weeks ago, Kim Wolf posted something on the ring tool. You see this popular topics and posts? I've got a couple of them. I clicked on the ring tool, and that brings you right to this topic where she posted a question about a ring tool that she had ordered, asking questions about it. Has anyone got experience with it? What do you think? So I weighed in, Jim weighed in, Cindy weighed in, and so on. So it's a great place to share ideas, ask questions, talk about what you're working on, and maybe get a little bit of that group communication that we normally have at the meetings. Sorry about that. Let me shut that up. Anybody got any questions about that?
Steve, how do I get into the group? Do I have to register?
Oh, thank you, Jim. Good question. So navigate, if you go on Facebook and search for Bawa or Bay Area Woodturning Association, either one will get you there. And when you get there, it says, there'll be a question that says join group. You click on it, and that'll send a message to myself and to Michelle, and one of us will let you in. That's just a way of making sure that this is actually a group for Bawa members. So it's a very quick, we'll get back to you soon, I can promise you that. Any other questions?
Do people get on at a particular period of time, all at the same time, so that we have sort of like a coffee clutch or something?
Not so far, but my understanding is that you can do that. You can set up a chat group. So if people are interested in that, let me and Michelle know, and we can facilitate it and figure out how best to do that and get information out to people. Or if someone actually has done that before, feel free to lead the charge. Yeah, so it has lots of possibilities for ways to share. encourage everyone to jump in there, and we can get some good use out of it.
So do I have to join Facebook first, or can I just go? How do I get into this in the beginning?
I am not a Facebook expert. I'm relatively recent myself, but I believe you have to have a Facebook account to get in there. So you just get Facebook, sign up, and if you like, do what I do, which is I only use it for wood turning. It's great. Some people use it for sharing with the grandkids and so on. I'm all in favor of that, but I also just like it just for wood turning. So I joined this group. I post my own stuff. I joined a couple of other wood turning groups around the world. So yeah, I think you have to sign up for Facebook. If I'm wrong in that regard, jump in someone who knows more than I do.
Right. Well, a couple of comments have come up that agrees with that. John Cobb also posts all his pictures of wild animals running through his property past his nighttime cameras too.
Yeah, it's great fun to follow fellow wood turners too through there.
Thank you, Steve. Anything else you want to talk about?
I've got a couple of things, Jim. Why don't I jump into the board of directors elections coming up? We have a 2-year cycle, and starting 2021, we have 2 positions to fill. Those are the treasurer and member at large. And a couple of nominations have come in, and we've got Rick Nelson for treasurer and Larry Body for member at large. The election will be held at the next meeting in October. So these are the nominations. If you out there have anybody you'd like to nominate, or someone would like to nominate yourself, contact me and Jim, and then that can be put up for at the election. Otherwise, so far we have the 2 slots with people who have been nominated and are agreeable to serving. So we will have a vote at the meeting at the next session in October. As long as I'm at it, unless there are any questions about as secretary, about the election or the nominations, any questions? No. Okay. And finally, one last announcement. On September 24th, I'll be doing a sawdust session. It'll be a shop tour, and I'll be doing a little presentation about my design process for hollow forms, and look forward to seeing you all there. It'll be September 24th. We'll send a reminder online, of course, email when the time comes. I don't have anything else, Jim.
Thank you. As in the past, when it comes around to nominations, I had sent a note out earlier asking people to get back to me if they had someone they would like to nominate or would like to step forward. And as of today, we've not had anybody other than the 2 that were proposed through the board. And if that does not change, then our election process next month will be very simple. I think we've done it through we just all agreed. And okay. One last thing I'd like to share before I go farther. I showed you the wood, that this is Bay Area Woodturners' effort to provide you with material to work with. And this is our guys who harvested the wood, processed the wood, sealed the wood, and of course the revenues go back to the club. I want to show you some things that I have for sale that are for the school, not for the club, but they are available. So I'm not going to go through a lot of time. I just want to show you a quick selection of what the items are. If you're interested in any of them, contact me separately, aside, and we'll talk more about what you're interested in. But let me just show you what I
You're muted, Jim. Jim, you're muted.
Well, it's not going really good. That's okay. Anyway, I got a bunch of stuff. There is a 14-inch jet band lathe, chop saw, miniature contractor's table saw, complete setup for a brand new turner. There's a mini lathe, set of tools, sharpening system, and so on. So if you're interested in anything like that, just send me an email, or you know somebody who is interested, send me an email and we'll handle that offline. Any of this that I sell is for the school, not for the club. And since I wear two hats, I took this opportunity to share a little bit. We've got a lot of show and tell today, and this is the start of the first President's Challenge we've had in a long time. So we have show and tell in general, and then we have those items that have been submitted as part of the President's Challenge. And I really appreciate everybody getting into this thing, and I wanted to create a little bit more activity, and Kim has pushed me for what, a couple months now, Kim, to do something like this. So this is phase one of the box challenge. Next month, and I'll tell you more about it later, we're going to do another box challenge, but it's going to be slightly different. And during that challenge, what we're going to end up doing is add a little bit more complexity to the project. And there will be a third version of it. So I know it's 3 months of boxes, but each one is a little bit more complex than before. And so we think we need to get into our show and tell. And are we, Richard, are we ready to go with that? Richard.
Coming up, show and tell
Okay.
first.
Okay, here we go. So the way we've done show and tell in the past is Richard will put up the slides and I'll call on the person. And I'd like you to keep your comments somewhat limited because there's a lot of people, 20 some odd items here to share. I'll put my cheaters on so I can see what we've got going here. Anna, you're up next, and Mr. Fleissig right behind.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This piece of wood was given to me by Jan Bloomer with a couple of hours of turning class in his shop. And it's black acacia, and it had multiple bark inclusions and a crack on the other side that I got to play with what I learned from Robert Bly at our meeting a couple of months ago, and that's turquoise to fill the inclusion. But the most exciting thing for me is I finally learned how to use wipe-on poly. So thank you, Jan, for that. That's all I have.
Beautiful. It works really good. The contrast is really nice. Dave, you're up, and then Mr. Campbell right behind that.
Well, I had a piece of hard maple that was about 6 inches by 2.5 inches by 6 inches. Pretty uninteresting, and trying to decide what to do with it. So I made this sort of quasi bowl, and I'm still entranced with adding some paint to it, and so that's what I've done.
It's gorgeous. Thank you so much. Jim Campbell and Mike Boulat. Mike will have to speak up. He's a little far away. Jim.
I had to unmute myself, sorry. So this is a pin that came out of a cutting board that I bought at Home Goods. And I was playing around with it, and it's a hybrid cigar. And I thought the grain came out pretty nice. This is a CA finish, no linseed oil. I can thank Bill, I think his name is Melbourne, for showing me the drip technique. I used that extensively, and I let this dry over a course of 3 days before I hit it with micro mesh. Anyway, that's the pen.
Thank you. Thank you. Mike, and then Peter Nakatani behind him.
The second item is a black acacia bowl. And go back one more. And I think Ann just spoke to this. Lots of inclusions. If you go to the next slide, you'll see that I worked through those. The other way. There you go. But I didn't bother to fill that big one at the bottom. So black acacia bowl.
Nice. Thank you. Sorry about that. Mike, And once you get done, Peter Nakatani has something.
Okay. This is an oak that was a Rudy Lopez twice turned bowl. And I thought it was rather lackluster until I saw a video by Les Castile, 3 Ways of Ebonizing Wood. And I used the India ink version, and I did some gold leaf on the end, and it just completely changed the appearance of this piece.
It did. It's outstanding. Thank you. Peter and him.
Okay, so this is a piece of, I actually thought this was black or English walnut, but it's, when I turn it, it's like, hey, this is bay laurel. I got this from John Cobb as a leftover thing in his green bowl turning class. And when I saw this, I just couldn't get rid of all the nice moss. So I left that on there, and I kind of went, well, what can I do? And I just made a vase out of it because the moss is kind of cool. And this one here is a big leaf maple burl, I guess coring, that came from Benicia. Who had his sale in Benicia?
Brad Adams.
Yeah, so this is a Brad Adams thing that I got from him. So it was a core, and this is like the first time I worked with burl. But it came out okay, and it was finished with Mahoney's walnut oil.
How are you putting your signature on the back of those pieces? Is that a branding iron, or is that done by freehand?
Yeah, I wish that was freehand. So I actually made a brass piece on my CNC, and I had it so that I can adapt it to a 50-watt soldering iron. So I plugged that in for a while, and then burn it. Cool, huh?
Yeah, it works out fine. Rick Nelson, and then we're going to go into the President's Challenge. I have a few words before we start that. Rick.
Yes, if everybody can hear me, this is an interesting vase. I certainly was happy with the way it turned out, but the real story is in the materials. This I made from actually, because I'm very cheap, again, like wood turners are, I made this from a fence that had blown down last winter, cut it into segments, and then glued it into rings, of course, and made the vase for it. Several things I've discovered which might be interesting is if you do enough segments in the ring, you almost get rid of the ingrain effect completely. And redwood, even though it's got a horrible reputation as far as turning, except in burls, it really turns very nicely when you do segmented vessels like this. And the other thing is then I wet sanded it with the wipe-on poly, which and then sanded it back and put 4 or 5 more coats of wipe-on poly on it, and it just turned to almost smooth as glass. So it finished beautifully, and it's got more chatoyance really than any other wood that I've ever worked with. So it's kind of a pain working with reclaimed wood, but I was happy with the effort and the COVID-19. What else am I going to be doing?
It's terrific. Yeah, thank you. And if it's reclaimed and it's old, it's probably tight grained and makes even better redwood. So we're going to start the President's Challenge. There's 13 people who chose to participate this month, and I appreciate that a lot. I hope all of you will come back for next month, and we'll add a few more, because if you've never done the box, you still got another chance to do it next month. So let's take a look at how people have taken a simple, plain box, and either with their first ones or with older techniques where they have expanded with their own decorative additions. Let's see what we've got here. Mr. Bentley is first in the line here. What do you got, Dave?
Jim, I have a piece of light walnut, and I turned the box about 5.5 inches tall and 2 3/4 inches wide, and used a parting tool to put some decorations on the side. I just created some lines and spaces on the side. And then I used two burrs that I bought from Melissa Engler when she and Grandma were presenting to Bawa. I thought it was great fun, Jim. I thought this was a wonderful idea, and look forward to the next challenge.
Thank you. So I forgot, John Langdon, you're up next, and Dave Fleissig will be back after John.
Yeah, thank you. My daughter-in-law asked me if I'd make a salt box for her, which I've never done before, and I didn't have any idea exactly what to do, but this was kind of memory from seeing one. And all it is just 3/4 inch oak laminated 3 high. And then I finished it up with a wipe-on poly, and with the exception of the inside I kept completely free of any outside finish, so I didn't want it to affect the taste or anything of the salt or vice versa. So far, she said she liked it very much, and I kind of threw in a little spoon. My apprenticeship of making spoons just by carving didn't turn out too bad. She was happy with it. So
how's the lid fastened on, John?
That's just done with a compression spring, I guess it is. Can't think of the name of what I'm trying to say, but just a single tight pin, and it turns. And I thought I had another picture of it, but maybe that's all it shows. Overall, it turned out pretty good, I thought.
Thank you. Very good. Barrel hinge, was that maybe what you did?
No, not a barrel. It's like a not a hinge. It's just a piece of like a nail, but it's got a
pin.
It's a pin. It's a compression pin, might call it.
Pin, I think.
Say again, Dave.
I think it's a roll pin.
Roll pin, exactly.
Thank you.
Roll pin. Yeah.
Okay.
And
good.
I have to admit though, playing around with a roll pin and getting it, drilling the hole exactly in the right position, took a little extra effort on it. Because I initially made another box out of practice, and that was probably the biggest challenge of the whole thing was drilling that hole exactly in the right position, because you can't just drill through. You have to drill each individual, the lid and the bowl and the pot itself. And so I was able to do that by using a preliminary, just a nail in there, and then I lined it up pretty good, and then I just tapped it in there and then drilled from the backside, and lo and behold, it came out pretty good.
Did come out very nice. Thank you. Dave Fleissig, Charlie Saul's right behind you.
This is one of the classic designs from that, I don't remember the exact title, Jim, that 50 box book that you have a copy of.
Yep.
And, it occurred to me when making that it really is a hollow form. Because this particular one, although it's hard to see from this picture, is undercut, the lid. And so it's basically, it's a box, but it's just a different shape, hollow form. Now, just for fun, this was cherry and fairly ordinary, and I decided to go a little crazy. So there it is.
So David, the design seems to flow from the lid to the base. Did you put it on after you separated the two components?
Yes. Yes, I did. And then what I did, once I got the fit, was hold it on with pressure from the tailstock so I could look at the shape of that curve, lined up with the box itself.
Okay, great. Thank you.
David, I'm curious. For the coloring, was this brush or what was your style to do this? What kind of paint is involved here?
Well, the short version is you start out by spraying it gloss black. That's your base. Now, what's on top of it is an iridescent, translucent acrylic paint, and those swirls you see were done with a brush, an artist's brush. the little red dots, I actually cut off an acid brush, leaving very short bristles, and then dipped it in the paint and flipped it to create the little dots. So that was my playing around.
I really appreciate this. This is a stellar effect. Thank you.
Well done. Charlie, you're up, and Jay Holland behind you.
Hi guys. Well, I enjoyed making a simple box, and I usually do carving and so on, but I found this piece of oak, this oak burl, and a little bit like Harry and Bob's work with fractal burning. This sort of reminds me of fractal burning, and but it's all natural. And so I thought it was a cool little piece. It's about 5 inches tall, and I tried to make a non-traditional finial, and I thought it turned out pretty well for a simple box. And then I think I have another piece in there. There we go. Well, so this is a piece of walnut. It's about 6 inches wide, 5 inches tall, and it's a pretty traditional form. But I had a lot of fun with it, and I tried to keep the finial handle sort of simple. And so I thought it was just a good little tapered box. And then I think I may have one more photo that showed, and those are the two together. So it kind of gives you an idea in perspective. One is sort of a kind of a classically female shape, and the other is sort of a classically masculine object. And so I thought it was kind of fun to do this. And thank you for the simple box project.
You're certainly welcome. I'll challenge you next month too. Jay and Andy right behind Jay.
Jay, you here?
Mr. Holland, we need your microphone. I don't have a gallery view on right now, so he may not be here. Well, anyway, we see his work. Thank you for bringing it in and sharing it with us.
He's here, but his audio is off, it looks like. So
I'm
he's
not-
in this nice carved box. So
Thank you. Sorry we didn't get to hear from you directly, Jay, but nice work. We appreciate it. Andy, and then after you, Bob Nolan. Andy, microphone?
no, I don't see him on the list.
Ah,
So he may not be here, but
he may not be here. So that looks like maybe a 3x3 coaster in front. So these are relatively small boxes and nicely executed.
Great.
Okay. Bob, followed by Ed Steffinger. Mr. Nolan. Is Bob here? Anyway, we do see a beautiful piece of very spalted, must be maple, right? I would think.
I don't know what the wood is.
I would love to, there you go. I was getting ready to ask for that shot. I would love to see it with the lid on. That kind of a Ray Key style piece, but a gorgeous piece of wood. Bob, thank you for sending that in. I appreciate it. Ed, and right after you, Kim.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yep.
This is a Japanese, made from a Japanese tree that was still standing in my yard this time last year. It's a simple box. That was what I understood was to be the presidential challenge. This is very simple. It's just a straight box. And the shame about it is it's the feel, not the look of the box that it makes this unique, if you will. It's like touching a piece of silk. I was very pleased with the wood and finishing it.
That's yours also?
Yes. This is a glued up piece that has some veneer in between. It's made out of walnut, and I don't know what the veneer is anymore. So again, it's a simple box. It has the lid snaps or pops. It has a little pop to it, which is what I like. And this one, I just again, it's made from walnut, and another piece of the Japanese maple tree, very light wood, and I kept it simple. That's it.
Very good. Appreciate it. So Ed, looks like you're kind of a head start on one of our future challenges. That's enough said about that. Kim, Gary, site eats right behind you.
Okay, I did 2 boxes. The first one did not turn out as I had planned. I took Fleisig's box class many years ago, and he suggested you take many cuts to sneak up on that fit. And so I did the first box that's standing there in 2 cuts for the fit, and that is why my box stands. The interior has a light blue finish to tie into the wood.
Mm-hmm.
The second box was the original Vision, the horizontal box. It is about 5 3/4 inches with a much more pronounced bead, and it has a pop fit. The first box is a very loose fit, not conducive to a horizontal layout. And I do want to thank everyone for their great images, because I'll be posting them to Instagram.
That's well said, because the Instagram postings of all these gets our work out in a very, very large theater. And several pictures in the past have been picked up and put into other publications from our Instagram page. So guys and gals, thank you for all that. And Kim for putting it together and getting us an Instagram page. Gary, Mr. Stovall's right into your back door there.
Good morning. The base of my box is ash, and the finial on the top is walnut. The grooves on the top and the top groove and the bottom groove, I took and cut that with a skew. Then I came back with a piece of Formica, and I burned it in a little bit so it'd be more visible to make all the lines look the same.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you so much. Vern and Mr. Dietrich right behind that one.
Where are you, Vern?
Vern, you got to talk to us.
Okay. Now, I had trouble unmuting. I guess I had to be unmuted. These are some barrels I made out of redwood, and they're a little big for a box. They're 15 inches long. But the great thing is the sides you don't have to sand, because barrels aren't sanded. They're made out of stave construction, and the hoops on them are just raised parts of wood. So there's only wood and glue.
Well done. But it is a box, it is a container, and it meets all the requirements. Thank you so much for doing that. Rick, and our final person behind you is Jim Campbell.
I've taken a number of classes from Joel about casting acrylic resin, and I ended up with a nice little blank that I was able to turn into a box. I still haven't figured out how to nicely sand the corners, like you see at the base of the ridge there, but the acrylic looks marvelous. It has a real shimmer to it, and has great chatoyance, and that's that.
Beautiful. Mr. Campbell, closing out our box challenge showing.
So when I cut the blank for the black acacia bowl, I had one of those leftover triangle pieces when you cut the circle, and I hated to throw it away. And so I thought, okay, I'll just make a box. I haven't done a lidded box for a while. And this is the result of that. You'll see some inclusions. You'll also see down in that bottom corner where it blew out when I was trying to clean up the bottom. If I felt like working on this anymore, I'd go back in there and clean it up and fill it up with something. But to be honest with you, this one came out of the lathe and caught me on the lip. So this one's going in the fireplace when we're done.
But anyway, the mark I see on your lift?
Yeah, that's the mark you see. It looks better now because there was one up here and over here, and I believe in face shields, and I used my face as a shield. It was this is the first piece. in 12 years of turning, this is the first piece I've had come out of it, Chuck. But I should have taken a few more precautions, so that's on me. I'm not going to dress up like a hockey player. I just need to be a little more careful when I get this stuff mounted. It was stupidity. But anyway, bowl came out okay.
Thank you, Jim. Well, the box challenge was great, and I thank you all for having participated and gotten into doing something. Next month, I'm going to do the same thing as I did this month. We will send out a little announcement, and there will be another little short YouTube video illustrating what I'd like you to take on as the challenge for the following month. So little secrets for that, and we'll do 1/3 box the following month, and that'll kind of complete this. And by that time, I'll think of something else for us all to work on. Thank you. Thank you very much. And also thank you for having arranged your pieces in a way that we have really good photographs with what Rick has been telling us for months to keep the background simple so that he has less reprocessing to do of your photos, and it makes it easier for going on the Instagram page. And I hope I'll have a chance to chat with some of you on our YouTube page too over the next couple of weeks.
I think you mean Facebook page.
Facebook page, yeah. I'm sorry about that. Thank you for correcting me. Rick, how are we going to introduce Mr. Beaver?
I will introduce him momentarily. I just want to say regarding the photos, there was only one photograph that I did anything with at all, and that was one that just was a little bit too busy in the background to actually see what was trying to be shown. But all the others were basically as they were sent in. So I appreciate everyone's effort in having non-distracting backgrounds and having decent lighting. Try to center your compositions. Remember, if you're doing it with your phone, I did mine with my phone, you can get closer simply by moving the phone closer to the object. And the screen shows you what's going on, so you can see exactly what your photo's going to look like. But thank you, everybody. Excellent work. And you'll see it all posted forever and ever on Facebook and Instagram, or on the Instagram thing. So